Hi, and thanks for watching the forum. I'm your host, Ashley Tate, here with my co-host, Christy Largent, and our guest today, Hope Seth, Director of Startup Development at the Shasta Economic Development Corporation. So thank you so much for joining us today, Hope. And I'm so excited to dig in and talk about startups and what you're doing in Reading.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So first, tell us a little bit about the EDC. I know it's morphed a little bit over the years. What is the EDC doing in Reading right now?
Sure. So the EDC is actually the second oldest EDC in the state of California.
Wow.
And the EDC was really created as a way of bringing primary industry into the Reading in Shasta County area. That primary industry looks like manufacturing. Now it looks like maybe more technology, but bringing in those types of jobs to the region that have a real high economic output into the community. So that's traditionally what the EDC has been, going out, recruiting, looking for those companies that want to move to this region.
Well, and I was reading on your website, which is such a good website, that part of your vision is to build a globally connected, innovative region for manufacturing and technology. Okay, so globally connected, that provides strong competitive advantages for businesses and attracts entrepreneurs. So what kind of things are you guys doing that would be attracting entrepreneurs that would be not just like entrepreneurs that want to be globally connected?
So about 3 years ago, after the economy turned down, and then we have our state issues with regulation, we find that there's not a lot of manufacturing looking to move into California. And so
because of the laws,
because of the laws, it's very hard. And even those that were expanding due to the economy weren't within the state even expanding. And so Mark LaSalle, who's the president of the EDC, was connected to some pretty well-known entrepreneurs that had relocated to this region and really started thinking, you know, one strategy is to grow our own. If we're not being able to import them in, let's grow them. And we started looking around and saying, we actually have several startups. So Technosoil, they just provided all of the walkways for the Winter Olympics over in Sochi. So that was
in Sochi.
Yeah, and they're
here,
and they're based right here. They grew Sean Weaver. They grew right here. So you know, we have that. We have Sea Breacher, which most people now have known about. It's
We're trying to get them on the show. Actually, they're a Sea Breacher with their watercraft. I don't know how else to put it.
So Sea Breacher is here, and they're going all over. I mean, they're really going all over the world as well. So we actually have startups that are here. They're doing well. We have some drone technology where they're beginning to do a lot of research in technology. We have a flight training school that's training pilots. So we actually have a lot going on right here.
No, we do, and I love that you guys are highlighting that. One of the things that I think about the EDC is that a lot of people don't know is that, as we talked about earlier, startups and entrepreneurs are a little bit different. So can you explain to us a little bit of how that makes it? What's the distinction?
Sure.
How would you know if you're a startup or an entrepreneur?
No, that's a great question, because you know, up until a couple years ago, I didn't know the difference. Okay, so to me, an entrepreneur, if you were going to go start a business, there was just one category. You just you start a business and you grow. But over the last several years, there's been this emphasis on startups. And startups, the distinction. Okay, so if you can think of umbrella. Entrepreneur as an umbrella term. And if you go out and create a restaurant, you go open a retail store, or if you create a technology company, you're an entrepreneur. That's entrepreneurship. But startups are specifically relates to those companies that have the ability to scale and scale quickly. So for instance, if you think of Silicon Valley and you think of the technology or an app that you create it, and then it has the ability to scale millions and very quickly, lots of jobs. Those are really what we relate to as startups.
So when you say scale, just to sort of break it down, that lingo gets passed. I'm learning all this new, you know, the new lingo of the new world that we're in. And when you say something's going to scale, that means it's going to get bigger rapidly. Multiply many, many times. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Like, you're not just making one widget, you're going to scale and make 5 million widgets or 50 million widgets.
Or you can rapidly expand location. So if if you opened up, you know, you created this new type of we'll say cupcake, and then you created stores all over America. Right. You know, that's a startup too. Right. It's a little bit different than just having one in one particular city. Right. Right. So it's that force multiplier that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. So how would someone know to come and find you? How would they know, like, okay, I think I'm a startup and I need some help.
Sure.
Do you generally help startups? How do you help them, and what do you do?
Mm-hmm. So right now, most people find us by word of mouth.
Okay.
And different events such as this, then they go, wow, I didn't know. Entrepreneurs are real funny that they tend to be, especially if they're technology oriented, they don't tend to be out with the rest of the business community. They are in their house working away on something, and so sometimes it is hard for us to find them, but they do find us too. And so we have different events that we do to help connect the community, because when I moved here and started working in startups, I realized actually there's a lot of people doing very similar things. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows what each other are doing, though.
That's true.
So beginning to create these communications and build the community and say, hey, we actually aren't pockets. We're really one group working on different aspects. Mm-hmm. So that's been one way to really connect them. We connect startups with mentors. Okay. You know, we have a startup here, and we found others, CEOs and leaders in their industry, and we brought them around. The Pitch Breakfast.
Right, Pitch Breakfast.
So the Pitch Breakfast was created specifically to allow startups and entrepreneurs to be introduced into the business community. So I will meet with them, find out what they need, invite them to come pitch at a Pitch Breakfast, and then we will handpick business leaders, CEOs in their particular area to come and listen. Wow. Give them some feedback and potentially even become a mentor to them.
And do you do anything with funding?
We do. Okay. So about a year ago, SAGE, which is the Shasta Angels for Global Economy, I think, but we call it SAGE, which is an angel fund. They have come together with an angel fund, and they just are beginning to fund their second.
And so would people from that group come to your Pitch Breakfast as well?
Yes, we invite them as well, and we put them through a process of helping them develop their pitch, refine their business. I mean, obviously you can have a pitch, but if you don't really have a business model, it doesn't go. You know, it doesn't matter. So we're really working with them to help develop that model as well, and that comes through mentorship, and then when they're ready to be able to put them in front of SAGE if they would be a good candidate for it.
That's great. And how would CEOs, well, actually let me back up on that. I do have a question for you about your CEOs, but it's kind of interesting to watch the EDC kind of rebrand itself, because generally before, people didn't come to the EDC thinking, hey, I can come here for help with my startup or my new thing that I've got going on. You know, they didn't help you necessarily grow, but they would bring businesses here and help them get started. And now you guys are really helping from the ground level and we didn't have that here in Redding. We didn't have anything like that here, where something starting from the seed and then growing you into this big startup. So it's nice that you guys have those resources.
And it's still both. Yeah. You know, so we have recruited one of the things they're calling now, it's called near sourcing.
Oh, okay.
Near sourcing. And what that looks like is a Silicon Valley company, a startup, or a more developed company has a portion of their business that they put here in Redding to grow because the cost of business is so much lower here. And so we actually have had two companies in computing as well as Accent that have both grown very quickly, and they're providing a pretty good labor pool and talent for other companies if they wanted to come as well.
So tell us a little bit about Startup Redding. I was so excited because I got to hear Dale Partridge, who is the founder of Sevenly, which is just an amazing, amazing company that does good in the world. Their whole model was people over profits, and the funny thing is they've gotten tremendous profits at sevenly.org. You brought him in to do a Beer and Bites, it was called, and then the next day you had a founder CEO brunch. So tell us a little bit about that program. It's an out branch of the EDC, and just fill us in on and how we can find out more about it.
Sure. So Beer and Bites is part of that community of connecting the community, bringing out together those involved in startups, mentors, investors, people who just want to know. If you can think of, you know, it's kind of a gate into the community. So if you wanted to find out about it, those are great open doors to do that.
Yeah.
And so we hold them about every 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh.
We hold them at different locations, usually a startup or a tech kind of company location.
Yeah.
And this last one, we brought in Dale Partridge, who is a startup founder from LA, and we brought him in to speak to the group. This was our first time actually bringing in a speaker. And I actually have a vision to start a CEO series where we bring in CEOs from outside the region to talk to our startup founders.
Sure.
And that's what the breakfast came from the next day, was specifically targeted to our startup CEOs, founders. And it was just a great time where they were able to hear Dale's story, unedited, unfiltered, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly, the challenges, and then get to ask questions related to their own journey.
And just the caliber of getting him in here, he's going to be, if you're thinking who's Dale Partridge, and you've heard of TED Talks, right? He has been selected to be on the main stage for one of the TED Talks. So he's like one of the premier people in the world right now.
Right?
Probably.
He's been in Forbes,
yeah.
Now, is that open to the public?
Yeah.
Can the public just go?
To
or do you guys record
to
that
the Beer and Bites?
No, to the speaking.
Well, that's what he was speaking at the Beer and Bites.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
And we did. We opened that up to the public.
and it was $10 for your ticket. It was so reasonable.
Yeah.
And then we went over. Then we went over to Cicada Cantina afterwards, and we had the Beer and Bites portion of it. Right.
Well, I just think this is such a huge, wonderful thing for our community. I mean, I think it's the kind of thing you could bring high school kids that are interested in business come just to catch a vision of something so much bigger. You know, and with the internet and with the world like it is, it's so neat to see how you're really reaching out to bring them to us so that we can get filled up and then go back out. So how do we find out more about the EDC in our few last seconds? We're about to wrap it up here.
Sure. So we have a website, and it's shastaedc.org.
Okay.
And there's a contact button, and anyone who wants more information can go through that. And then they could also contact us by phone, and that's 224.
Go ahead.
224-4920.
Okay, and you'll call for Hope.
Yes.
So, well, we've enjoyed having you so much. Thanks for coming, and hang on. We'll be back in a few minutes with the next half of our show.
Hi, and we're back with Jennifer Scarborough, and I'm sure all of you know who this lovely lady is. News director for KRCR, and she's here with us. We're going to see the backside of her. Well, not really. Wait a minute. What kind of show is this?
What kind of show are you guys putting on over here?
Oh my goodness. Shall we roll that? So you might be thinking, what is Jennifer doing on KIXE? Because she's supposed to be over on that other station.
That's right.
So a lot of people may not know, she is a huge supporter of Channel 9. And over the years, I've done a ton of auctions with you and fundraisers and everything. And how come you love supporting public TV?
Well, I've always been a huge supporter of public television. I do believe that the public should have access to television. You know, we at KRCR News Channel 7 use the public airwaves in order to provide information to the community.
That's right.
But I also think that there's a really important place in society for public television that is funded by us. And, you know, my kids love Sesame Street, so that's the other thing. I got to pay you back for all the free babysitting and quiet time that Elmo has provided me.
And in case our viewers don't know, how many kids do you have and how old are they, Jennifer?
I have 4 boys that are 8 and younger. I have an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, and identical twins that are 3.5. So yeah, it's good times in my house.
Looks
good
pretty
times.
normal.
Great
surprisingly.
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
No, stop. I do have one question for you, though. I'd like to know what your life was like before you had your children. Kind of like, so you got into news.
I don't really remember.
I know, it's hard to remember, right?
Yeah, I worked a lot. You know, it's a very demanding career.
You still work a lot,
I work a lot. Yeah, now I'm working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It was, you know, I did a lot more adventurous things as a journalist before I had children. I actually became news director when I was pregnant with my first child.
Wow.
And that took me, I have to give huge thanks to Sarah Smith, who was the GM at the time, who took a chance on a 7-month pregnant woman and said, hey, I'm going to put you in charge of the news department. That doesn't happen very often, but you know, she gave me that opportunity, and that afforded me the chance to step out of being just a reporter, not I don't mean to say it that way, being a reporter and instead being in management. And I've learned a lot of skills that way. But yeah, before, you know, it was before I had kids that I flew with the Blue Angels. It was before I had kids that I went and traveled to Thailand and China as part of a documentary we did on the YMCA and its role in the world. world. And so I did a lot more. I took a lot more risks before I had children. You know, now, you know, I see the reporters go out and they go to the wildfires and they go to the crazy car chases and they love doing all that. And there's part of me that misses it. I can't lie that I'm always sometimes a tiny bit jealous that they get to go do that. But you know, it's a different role now, and it's fun to hire a new journalists and to watch them grow and then send them out into the world to make a difference. Because I do believe in journalism. I believe in the First Amendment. I believe you cannot have a free society without freedom of speech and without freedom of the press. And I understand that I've got a very important job in making sure that these people understand the importance of their role. We may be a small market television station. These may be people, many of whom are just out of college. But the role we have is incredibly important, not just in this community, but in the world in general. Okay, off my soapbox.
No, okay, we love that. We love soapbox really here.
Yeah. Oh, I could go on and on.
Oh, we love it.
I mean, oh, sorry, go ahead, Chrissy.
No, I was just going to say, how did you happen to get into TV? What was your road to get into it?
I always loved journalism. I wrote for my high school paper, and I wrote for my college paper, and actually wound up being an editor of a specific section of my college paper.
Which was what college?
University of San Diego.
Okay.
In San Diego. And my senior year, I will never forget it, my senior year, I decided to get an internship at the local TV station. And I knew the first day, the first hour I was there, I met this reporter named Michael Satoni, and he was so enthusiastic about his job and about what he did. I came home from that internship and told my roommates, I know what I want to do. That's what I want to do. I was so excited. And from then on, I just, you know, like I do most things, just like full force. And, I spent hours at the internship, and I got my first job at a cable station in North San Diego County, where they did these really short news briefs. Oh, nice. And I did that for about 1.5 years. And then I got my first job here at KRCR, working as a reporter in Tehama County. Was my beat.
Oh, wow.
Had you had any connection with Reading at all before then?
Nope, didn't even know Reading, didn't know like most other people.
Yes, had no other people you did not know.
No idea part of California existed north of Sacramento.
That's
I
right.
had no idea until I looked at a map that this place was here. And it's beautiful. And, you know, it's been, I never thought I would stay here this long. It's going to be 20 years next year that I've been working at KRCR.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? Crazy.
No, you're like really, I mean, you look great.
Yeah,
really.
20 years.
Yeah.
Wow. And I never thought I would stay this long. Of course, if you'd asked me the first, I'm out of here in 2 years.
Yeah, right?
But it's just a wonderful place to live. It's a great community. It's a great place to raise a family.
And where'd you meet your husband?
It was a blind date. Well, for me, it was a blind date. That we had a mutual acquaintance who had heard both of us sort of complaining that there was no one for us, you know, to date here in town, and she said, she said to both of us the same thing. I have someone for you.
Oh.
So he called me up not out of the blue, but he called me up and asked me out, and here we are,
and
4 kids later.
Together. Yeah. Now, one of the things that you might not know about Jennifer, and I'm totally going to put you out there.
Oh, here we go. I feel the bus coming.
No. When I first met her, one of the things that I thought was totally weird about you being on TV is that you're actually kind of shy.
I am incredibly shy.
Yes, she's shy, which is crazy to me.
I am incredibly shy. People run into me in the public and they're surprised that but I am shy. I'm very shy.
She's not ignoring you. She just is.
I just am not that person. I'm not like you. Ashley, she'll talk to anybody anytime, and I can do that, but it's not in my nature.
Yeah.
My nature is to think kind of nobody really cares to talk to me or.
You're a star. Everybody loves you. Whenever I'm with you, I feel like I'm like elevated because everyone knows you. They're like, oh, hi, Jennifer.
That just seems great. That just seems. I just can't.
I love the news. You do the best job.
I just don't see myself that way.
And you really don't.
I really don't.
Very, very humble and very down to earth.
And very giving. And very giving. And I want us to talk about your main thing that you do besides being running the news and the kids and your husband and is the One Safe Place.
Yes, I am.
So tell us a little about how you got involved in that and what are you doing with them?
I'm on the board of One Safe Place. I've actually been on the board for a little more than 10 years now. When I first got on the board, of course, it was the Shasta Women's Refuge.
Yep.
I was asked by then board members I'd never been on the board of anything before, and I was asked at the time to take part in it. And it is an organization that has just become more and more important to me, and more important really to this community. You know, especially with all these news articles coming out about how, you know, we're miserable, and it's the fastest growing crime rate in the country, and the worst, one of the worst cities in the country for women. And you know, the thing that I love about being on the board of One Safe Place is this is an organization that is doing something about that. Right? We want to change that. This community isn't those things. I mean, it is those things, but it doesn't have to be that way.
And it empowers women all the way around.
Women, men, children. Many people don't know that we also serve men, but we serve men as well because they're an important part of breaking that cycle of violence. And you know, it's One Safe Place was the Shasta Women's Refuge and the Shasta Family Justice Center. We serve a wide variety of people. And it's an incredibly important organization, and I hope that everyone can support it or find a way to support it one way or another through one of the many fundraisers that we have, because it really is, we are doing the kinds of things in this community that I firmly believe can turn this community around. I want my children, and I know you want your children to want to live here, to want to have a wonderful, vibrant place to live. So that's what we're doing.
So you have the big fundraiser coming up this summer, of course, for One Safe Place.
One of them.
One of the biggest one is the Dancing with the Stars.
Dancing with the Stars, yes, which you took part in.
Yeah, first one.
That's how Christy and I met.
Oh, really?
We both in the very first one.
She won. Didn't you win?
No, I didn't win.
Oh my God.
Are you sure you didn't win?
Patrick,
sure you didn't win?
Patrick John won.
Okay. Oh,
Thanks for bringing it up, though.
Well, you were second, and I was third.
I'm still a tiny bit hurt about that.
Oh, no. She was so good. You were so good.
We had fun. It was fun.
She was awesome, and she had James Santos, who was the
artistic director of the Cascade Theater.
Yes, and a professional dancer, and works with Cirque du Soleil
she's
now.
got a little rhythm in her too. She's got a little.
You should have seen her dance.
We had fun.
They did a quick step.
It was hard.
Wasn't that fun? It was hard.
It was hard, but it was fun.
So fun.
It's a lot of time. I don't know how you guys do that. I mean,
we only had 2 weeks at the time. It's completely different now.
And we didn't know about raising money. It was just, the whole event was to raise the money, but we didn't. It's nothing like it is now. Like, I would probably say no thank you now.
Yes.
It's so hard. It's so time consuming.
We were just thinking we were going to, you know, tap dance out on stage and just hope that someone clapped.
And so someone came. Hope someone came.
But you guys had a really good turnout even that first year.
We did,
It was pretty much full.
I think it's a great idea.
It is, and we have Walka Mile coming up also.
And how much money does the big thing?
Well, we have a variety of a variety of fundraisers, and that one in particular tends to have, it kind of depends on who's in the cast.
Okay.
So it has raised as much as $70,000.
Wow.
Of course, the year you and I did it, it was like $2,000 or something.
Didn't we make like 17,000?
No, not the first year.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Oh, that figure stuck in my mind because I was like, that's pretty good.
It was like, maybe it was 7,000 the first year, but it wasn't like,
it wasn't
70,000, 75,000 is as much as we've raised with that.
That's a lot of money.
Amazing.
But you
from
know,
one event.
From one event. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And then we have Walka Mile, which is where local men in our community don high hills and walk a mile in support of women who have been victims of sexual assault. So there's all, you know, everything from the crab feed, which is so much fun, all the way up to Dancing with the Stars. Anything you want to do, you can come out and support.
Well, and I think that you're hitting so many different segments of our community through that. It's just awesome. And then so people from different segments can participate, give money, and know that it's going to such an awesome cause. So we have
one of the other things too, I just want to say, you also do the Go Reading.
Yeah,
and I know we don't have a lot of time, but every year you MC. Yeah. And it's just a great way to bring women together, and she does an excellent job.
That's an incredible event also.
Yeah. For her, you're just part of
our heart disease.
Kind of like
I love to do it.
Our golden girl of Reading.
Okay. You're killing me now. This is too much for me. I can't. I'm gonna stop saying nice things about me. I can't take it.
Okay, you can.
So we are so lucky to have had you on today. What a fun show this has been. We had we have good guests. Thanks for coming on.
Donate to KIXE.
Donate to KRCR-TV.
Yes.
And you come back. We'll be with you next week with another great show.